What if I told you that the biggest love story in modern hip-hop cracked wide open at exactly 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night, inside a mansion that costs more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes, and the only two witnesses were a Barbadian billionaire and a Harlem rapper who spent a decade manifesting her? What if I told you that the 5 words she whispered that night have been circulating through Hollywood back channels, and every person who heard them said the same thing? This is worse than anyone thinks. I am about to walk you through the most devastating, emotionally explosive, and deeply hidden relationship crisis Rihanna and A$AP Rocky have ever allegedly faced. This is not recycled tabloid gossip. This is a story built on insider whispers, leaked communications, suspicious social media behavior, and a trail of digital breadcrumbs that will fundamentally change how you see this couple forever. And here is the part that should genuinely terrify every fan. The crisis did not come from cheating, scandal, or any third party. It came from something far more dangerous. It came from the inside, from the silence between two people who forgot how to reach each other. By the time you finish this, you will know exactly what Rihanna said, how Rocky reacted, and why people deep inside their circle believe this could be the beginning of the end. So do not scroll away. Do not click away, because this goes deeper than anything the blogs have reported. Let me set the scene. For years, the public narrative around Rihanna and A$AP Rocky has been nothing short of a modern fairy tale. Two icons from different worlds who circled each other for over a decade before the universe finally pushed them together. The reformed playboy from Harlem and the untouchable queen from Barbados. They were not manufactured by industry executives. They were not a PR stunt designed to move units. They were the real thing, and everyone believed in them with an almost religious fervor. But nobody tells you what happens after happily ever after. Nobody writes the chapter about the castle getting too quiet, magic starting to feel like routine, and two people who conquered the world together realizing they might be losing the war happening inside their own home. In the weeks before what insiders now call the March 28th conversation, there were signs. Subtle, nearly invisible signs that something was fracturing beneath their picture-perfect life. And the public missed every single one. Rewind to January 2026. Rihanna and Rocky were spotted in Paris looking every bit the power couple. She was in custom couture. He was effortlessly cool beside her. Photos went viral. Comment sections overflowed with heart emojis and people declaring them couple goals for eternity. Then in February, Rihanna made a dramatic surprise entrance at Rocky's New York Fashion Week show, and the internet absolutely melted. She walked in like she owned the entire building. Rocky beamed from across the room. They exchanged that look, the one that made millions of strangers believe in love again. It all appeared flawless. But here is the uncomfortable truth about perfection. It is very often the most elaborate disguise for pain that has been building quietly beneath the surface for longer than anyone wants to admit. Behind those glamorous appearances, sources say a completely different story was unfolding. Not a dramatic fight or a screaming match, but something far more corrosive: emotional distance. The kind that seeps in through cracks like water through a crumbling foundation. You do not notice it until the walls are already buckling. Insiders say Rihanna had been feeling a growing disconnect for weeks, possibly months. The weight was not about one event or one argument. It was cumulative. 1,000 small moments of feeling unseen, unheard, and emotionally isolated while physically standing right next to the man she chose to build a life and a family with. And apparently, the worst part was that she could not even pinpoint the exact moment it started. It was like watching a photograph slowly fade in sunlight. By the time you realize it is happening, half the image is already gone. Here is what people consistently overlook about Rihanna because they are too busy worshiping her as a mogul and a fashion titan. Robin Finney is, at her core, a deeply emotional and intensely perceptive human being. She reads rooms, people, and silences with surgical precision. When she goes quiet, it is never because she has nothing to say. It is because she has too much to say and is carefully determining whether speaking will fix things or shatter them entirely. By late March 2026, she had apparently reached the agonizing conclusion that the silence itself had become more destructive than any truth she could possibly speak aloud. Picture the night of March 28th. Their sprawling private estate. Every room looking like it belongs in an architecture magazine. The boys, RZA and Riot Rose, sound asleep upstairs. No staff, no cameras, no publicists in the hallway. Just Rakim and Robin in a space that suddenly felt cavernous because of the emotional chasm stretching between them like an ocean neither knew how to cross. Rocky was in a relatively good headspace that evening. He had been in the studio working on new material he was genuinely excited about. His felony assault acquittal back in February 2025 had lifted years of crushing psychological weight. And while the civil lawsuit from ASAP Relly still lingered on the docket, his legal team was handling the details. For the first time in what felt like forever, the storm clouds seemed to be parting. He was focused on the future, new music, fashion ventures, his family. He was absolutely not prepared for the fact that the woman sitting quietly across the room was about to deliver a truth so devastating it would send his carefully constructed world into complete freefall. Rihanna was unusually quiet. Not her typical observational quiet where she sits back and absorbs everything with those impossibly sharp eyes. This was a fundamentally different species of silence. Heavy, loaded, the kind that fills a room with invisible pressure until something has to give. Rocky noticed almost immediately. Of course he did. He knows this woman better than he knows himself. He has been studying her moods and mannerisms for more than 10 years. He allegedly tried the usual approach, cracking a joke, referencing something from their day, trying to coax her into their comfortable rhythm of playful banter. But she was not biting, not smiling, not giving him anything to work with. She was trapped somewhere deep in her own thoughts, wrestling with words she had been rehearsing in private for far longer than anyone around her suspected. Then she looked at him, not a casual glance across the room. She locked her gaze onto his with the specific intensity that only Rihanna possesses, the kind that makes you feel like she is reading every hidden chapter of your soul in one devastating moment. And she spoke 5 words that changed the energy of the entire house. "We need to talk, Rakim." Those 5 words have ended more relationships throughout human history than infidelity ever has. But according to multiple sources close to the situation, the way she said them carried a gravity that went far beyond a normal relationship check-in. This was not about logistics or scheduling or who forgot to call the nanny. This was existential. This was about the very foundation beneath everything they built together. And Rocky felt the shift the instant those words left her lips. His posture stiffened. His jaw clenched. His eyes sharpened with a primal alertness that comes from sensing danger before it fully reveals itself. What followed was not a single bombshell. It was an unraveling. A slow, devastating, emotionally raw confession she had been holding inside her chest like a second heartbeat for far too long. She told him she was no longer confident their relationship was moving in the right direction. Not that she hated him. Not that there was someone else. She said she did not know if love alone was enough to sustain what they had. She told him they had gradually become 2 satellites orbiting the same sun, but drifting further apart with every rotation. That the connection making them different from every other celebrity couple was thinning. That too many conversations had been left unfinished, too many real feelings swallowed to maintain peace, and too much of their combined energy was being consumed by business empires, legal battles, career pressures, and the relentless grinding machinery of fame that never, ever stops demanding more. She told him she had been performing a role for longer than she cared to admit. The unshakable supportive partner. The ultimate ride or die. The woman holding the entire operation together with both hands while the world watches and applauds. And she was exhausted from it. Not physically, though she was that too. Emotionally drained. Spiritually depleted. Tired of manufacturing smiles for cameras when her heart felt like it was carrying stones. Tired of curating picture-perfect family photos for social media that told a carefully edited fraction of the real story. Tired of being Rihanna the global brand when she desperately needed to just be Robin, the woman who needed to feel seen, held, and genuinely understood by the one person she chose above everyone else. And then came the line that reportedly shattered him completely. She looked directly at the father of her 2 sons, the man who stood before the world and called her the love of his life, and she whispered with tears forming, "I do not know if I can keep doing this the way we have been doing it." Not technically a breakup, but standing right on the edge of the cliff, looking down into the abyss, feeling the ground crumble beneath her feet with every passing second. The reaction inside that room was seismic. According to insiders, Rocky did not respond immediately. Silence stretched like it lasted for hours, even though it was probably only seconds. His brain was desperately trying to process what his heart had already understood. And when the full, devastating weight finally crashed down on him, he shattered into 1,000 pieces. Let me be absolutely clear here, because I will not allow anyone to twist this narrative. When I say he shattered, I am categorically not talking about aggression or violence of any kind. What happened was a man experiencing the most raw, vulnerable, and devastating form of emotional collapse. He was terrified, blindsided, watching the most important person in his existence say the foundation might be crumbling, and having absolutely no idea how to stop it. He began pacing the room frantically, running his hands through his braids over and over, his voice rising and falling in desperate waves. Where is this coming from? When did you start feeling this? What did I do wrong? What did I miss? He was interrupting himself mid-thought, starting sentences and abandoning them, his mind racing so far beyond what his mouth could track. It was the specific kind of emotional breakdown that only happens when someone suddenly comprehends they might be losing the one thing they value above all else. And the detail that makes this entire situation unbearably, achingly human. Rihanna sat through his breakdown with tears streaming silently down her own face. She was not cold, not detached. She was watching the man she loves fall apart because of truths she knew she had to finally speak, and witnessing his pain was destroying her in equal measure. This was a woman who had reached her breaking point and chose honesty over the slow poison of comfortable lies. To understand why this hit Rocky with the full force of a Category 5 hurricane, you need to understand the complete weight of their history and what Rihanna represents to this man beyond romance. Raheem Athalaston Mayers grew up in Harlem under conditions that would have permanently broken most people before adulthood. He lost his older brother Ricky to gun violence at 13, a trauma whose scars the public has never fully understood. His father cycled in and out of the prison system on drug charges throughout his childhood. He spent stretches in homeless shelters. Music and supernatural charisma were the only threads connecting him to any hope for a different life. When he dropped Live, Loved at ASAP in 2011, he did not just launch a career. He executed an escape from a world that was systematically trying to end him. Fame reinforced every wall around his heart. Rocky became the fashion-forward, notoriously non-committal playboy prince of hip-hop. Kendall Jenner, Iggy Azalea, Chanel Iman. A revolving door of high-profile connections that kept him occupied but never truly fulfilled. Through every chapter, one woman made Lord Flacco genuinely nervous. One name cracked his usually unshakable composure. Rihanna. Their gravitational pull traces to 2012 when Rocky joined her on stage at the VMAs for the Cockiness remix. The chemistry was so electric it became an instant pop culture moment that people still reference today. In 2013, she starred in his Fashion Killa video, and he literally cast the woman of his actual dreams as the woman of his on-screen dreams because the line between fantasy and reality had already dissolved. But timing was never right. She was with Drake, then in a serious relationship with billionaire Hassan Jameel. He was navigating his own entanglements. For years they existed in agonizing limbo between deep friendship and something far more profound, close enough to feel the constant magnetic pull, but never able to close the gap. Then, 2020. The pandemic shut the world down, and in that unprecedented stillness, something fundamental shifted. Rocky's mother, Renee Black, had been telling him for years that Rihanna was the one. When the noise of the industry fell silent during lockdown, he finally heard what she had been saying. They took that legendary road trip across America in a tour bus. No entourage, no cameras, no personas. Just Raheem and Robin driving through empty highways, talking for hours, falling into a love that had been patiently waiting in the wings for a decade. When Rocky told GQ in 2021 she was the love of his life, that she amounted to 1,000,000 of anyone else, he was testifying. Then came the absolute pinnacle. RZA arrived in 2022, then Riot rose. That legendary Harlem pregnancy announcement, Rihanna glowing in a pink vintage Chanel coat with snowflakes swirling around them, was his deeply personal victory lap. A man who crawled out of the very streets they stood on, bringing the mother of his child back to his origin point and proclaiming to the universe, "Look what I survived to build." Look who chose to build it with me. So when she said love might not be enough, she was pulling the central thread holding together his entire identity as a man, a father, and a survivor. She was questioning the very thing that gave his adult life its deepest meaning. No wonder he completely, utterly unraveled. But this crisis did not erupt in a vacuum. The pressures that pushed them to this point are layered and relentless. Rocky's acquittal did not erase years of psychological damage from living under the constant threat of prison. That kind of stress leaves invisible scars that manifest as emotional unavailability and withdrawal, the exact symptoms Rihanna described. The civil case with ASAP really added another layer of ongoing tension. Then the empire. Fenty Beauty reportedly facing revenue pressures with LVMH stakeholders demanding sustained growth. The deafening global demand for R9, which Rihanna herself stoked in February 2026 by posting footage from the studio. Motherhood to 2 young boys. The weight of being simultaneously a billionaire, a cultural icon, and the most anticipated comeback story in music. A burden that would crush almost anyone. 2 extraordinarily pressured people trying to maintain genuine intimacy while the planet watches their every move through a microscope. Something was always going to give. What gave was the one thing they protected most fiercely, their private emotional bond. They transitioned from a couple that could talk about anything to one that discussed everything except what truly mattered. They became logistical partners and efficient co-parents. But the raw, soul-deep intimacy born on that quiet tour bus started evaporating. Not because they stopped caring. Because life grew so impossibly loud they could no longer hear each other whispering. Now here is where it gets truly messy, because in 2026, absolutely nothing stays private for longer than a news cycle. The fallout from the March 28th conversation started leaking within days, exposing just how impossible it is for people at this level of fame to have a single private moment of genuine vulnerability. The paparazzi shots landed first, and they were jarring. Rihanna was captured in Los Angeles looking dramatically different from the radiant queen the world expects. No carefully curated glam. An oversized hoodie swallowing her frame. Massive dark sunglasses. Head angled down. A woman desperately trying not to be seen. 48 hours later, Rocky emerged from a recording studio, looking like a man who had been through a war with himself. No statement jewelry. Wrinkled clothes. Eyes carrying the unmistakable hollow look of someone who has not slept and has not found resolution. Reddit's FOMOA became the investigative headquarters. Users cataloged everything with forensic precision. Rocky had not interacted with a single Rihanna post in 3 consecutive weeks. She had removed his custom birthday ring from every recent photo and appearance. The digital detective work was meticulous and relentless. Then a verified industry insider went live on Instagram and dropped a blind item so thinly veiled it might as well have been transparent. A massive A-list hip-hop couple, one a mogul, one a New York rapper. Devastating emotional confrontation, no cheating, pure exhaustion. The rapper begging for reconciliation, the mogul already emotionally halfway out the door. X erupted into a full-blown war zone within hours. One tweet surpassing 200,000 likes read, "If ASAP Rocky fumbled Rihanna after manifesting her for a decade, there is officially no hope for men anywhere. Shut it all down." A counter-narrative emerged immediately. Stop blaming Rocky. She has 2 toddlers, a billion-dollar empire, and has been shouldering this alone. If she said love is not enough, she absolutely meant it. The Navy, Rihanna's legendarily protective fanbase, mobilized with military discipline. Rocky went from the internet's favorite supportive partner to a man under microscopic public scrutiny overnight. And because the internet possesses an elephantine memory and zero mercy, Drake's fanbase immediately seized the opportunity. Old lyrics were exhumed and reposted. Memes proliferated. His most yearning bars about Rihanna circulated with captions suggesting he had been right all along. It was petty, toxic, and a brutal reminder that in the economy of celebrity culture, one person's genuine heartbreak is always someone else's engagement content. Behind the scenes, the damage control machinery was allegedly running at maximum capacity. Rocky's management team and crisis PR specialists were conducting emergency strategy calls around the clock. Discussions reportedly centered on orchestrating public appearances, planting positive stories with friendly outlets, and wrestling the narrative under control. But the brutal truth is you cannot PR your way out of a broken heart. You cannot spin emotional exhaustion when every photograph and every conspicuous social media absence tells the painful real story louder than any publicist ever could. One underreported element adds significant complexity. Persistent rumors about a relationship contract allegedly valued around $500 million. Neither camp has confirmed this, but the rumors illuminate the extraordinary financial entanglement between them. When people at this wealth level face relationship crisis, the stakes extend far beyond emotion into financial, legal, and structural territory most people cannot begin to fathom. So where does everything stand right now? As of April 9, 2026, the situation remains fluid and deeply uncertain. No official statements. That is their style. They move in calculated silence. But this silence carries a different frequency. Not comfortable. Loaded. The silence of two people who said too much and not enough simultaneously. Latest whispers say Rocky has not given up. He is allegedly throwing everything he has at saving this relationship. Family therapy booked. Schedule aggressively cleared. Doing whatever it takes to prove that love can be enough when both people are willing to do the hard, unglamorous work of rebuilding what got neglected. He is fighting for the only thing that ever gave his life its deepest meaning, and he is fighting with everything he has left. Rihanna is reportedly in a deeply reflective state. No bags packed, no lawyers retained, but she has not fully returned to the relationship's emotional center either. She is hovering in that excruciating space between wanting to stay and needing to protect her own peace. If her life story has taught us anything, this woman will always choose herself when the moment demands it. That is not selfishness. That is survival learned through fire. The coming weeks are critical. Every appearance dissected, every post analyzed, every photo treated as evidence. The world watches, and that pressure might ironically make healing impossible. How do you repair something intimate when millions press their faces against the glass, judging every gesture? What we are witnessing is not merely a celebrity crisis. It is a profoundly human story about the limits of love, the cost of fame, the weight of expectation, and the terrifying clarity that comes when two people who have everything realize that everything might not include the one thing that actually matters. This story is not over. In many ways, it might only just be beginning. Drop into the comments right now. Can they survive this, or has the damage already been done? Is the internet overreacting to a rough patch? Or is the smoke we are all seeing pointing to a devastating fire? Give me your theories. Pick a side. Subscribe, hit notifications, because this is evolving fast, and you do not want to miss the next revelation. Click left for our deep dive into Rocky's legal battles and their emotional toll. Click right for the definitive timeline of Rihanna's journey through love and resilience. Stay sharp, stay curious, stay vigilant, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.